What's going on, guys? Rybomby Teacher in the house, and I am here with the GPL Playoffs Quarterfinals Round 1, whichever you want to call it, Pick'ems. Of course, I don't do my Pick'ems alone, I do my Pick'ems with my somewhat equal analyst after this week. Trancel, how you doing, man?
Yeah, not too bad. Pretty excited for playoffs.
Hell yeah, and we're both in it, and God help me if I beat DJ. Alright, but we'll get to that. As you can see on the screen, these are the results from week 7, with 5 correct winners versus 4 on Transel's side. He actually takes the lead, so he has now closed the gap. We are neck and neck at 37 points apiece, so the Superior Analyst title is going to be extremely close and down to the wire. But if you haven't seen these pick'ems before and you want to know what the hell's going on, either side of me here on this screen are two people who are playing their quarterfinals match this week. We're going to break down strengths and weaknesses on both sides, and we are going to then pick a winner and a score. And of course, the most points wins. So, first up, first quarterfinal we'll talk about is Solo Destroyer of the Wicked Weavers versus Pelly, aka Professor Impersonator of the Garden State Blizzards. How do you see this one turning out, Trancel?
Oh boy, so I think Pelly's got actually a lot of answers for Solo. Lapras for the Dracovish. The Octazalt gets Freeze Dry for the Dracovish.
So does the Lapras, yeah. So, and also Scarfire Dragon always outspeeds.
Yeah, his teams, Solo's teams are a little slow. Sometimes relies on Tailwind to really get going. Yeah, I think just Lapras, Hydreigon, Dugtrio, and Octazalt are pretty big problems for him. Obviously, Dugtrio could trap a weakened Dracovish or something like that.
There is also that possibility of the neutralizing gas from Weezing Galar minimizing that strong jaw, making that damage a lot worse. And of course, Weezing does get strange steam, which is stab. So I don't know how much that will do to Dracovish. I don't think it does too much. Dracovish not the best special bulk in the world, but definitely something to bear in mind. I think there's a hell of a lot of answers that Pelly can throw at the Dracovish. Then comes the question of how does he deal with Pangoro? Because Pangoro is nasty. This thing hits a lot of this team for massive damage. It's got fighting moves for the Lapras and the Hydreigon. Does, I believe it gets Ice Punch. I may be mistaken that for Dugtrio.
Yeah, it gets Ice Punch. Yeah.
But it gets quite a lot of hard-hitting moves that hits basically everything on this team. So that's kind of something to bear in mind. Pangoro is a big threat. It just depends on which Solo turns up. If it's Solo Destroyer or Choco Destroyer, whichever one turns up, we will have to see. But I do feel like Solo's matchup is not actually that great. The G-Max matchup is kind of heavily Lapras favored, in my opinion. I don't really think Corviknight does that well against Lapras in a 1v1. But I do really like Pelly's answers. And it just comes down to, can he execute on it? He narrowly lost to DJ, of course. But I do think his matchup is better than his matchup against DJ. So I'm going to bite the bullet here. I think Solo may struggle. I'm going to give Pelly a 3-0.
I think even like the Weezing's a decent answer to the Pangoro. And I think there's some good things, like the Rotom Heat can kind of just spam Volt Switch for the most part, as it can freely switch out of Dugtrio if it's a choiced Rotom.
Well, it can't Volt Switch out of a ground type, though.
Sorry?
It can't Volt Switch out of a ground type, though.
Oh yeah, but it can switch out instead of being trapped.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's one of those where the Volt Switch isn't as safe as it seems, because of Dugtrio. And also Shedinja with Wonder Guard, of course.
Yeah.
Although Shedinja's a very out there pick.
Yeah. And I think he has a fair amount of answers for it. Yeah. I'm sorry, Solo, but I just think the matchup is really in Pelly's favour. I'd like to see you win this, but I'm gonna go 3-0 Pelly.
Yeah, same as me. I definitely agree with you on that one. I think it's a tough one, but who knows? We'll see. It's going to be exciting regardless. Alright, next match is going to be another exciting one. I find it very hard to say Shadow is the 4th seed coming out of your conference, but he was versus the number 1 seed for my conference, which was Burger, who played very well this season. This one is a tough one. Also, for some reason, Shadow's team didn't save. Let me just live edit that real quick. I don't know why I did that, but yeah, it's meant to be a Terrakion and a Toxapex, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I'm just going to quickly do some live editing. You talk about the matchup.
Yeah, Terrakion, huge problem for his team, especially Banded, probably 2-shots everything except for Sandaconda if it G-maxes. With close combat, yeah.
Probably, yeah, like unless the Sandaconda's got, like, Iron Defense. Or Coil, rather, yeah.
Haxorus kind of does the same thing. There's no Steel type at all on Shadow's team.
Not now that Duraludon's gone. There is a Grimmsnarl, though. That might be something to bear in mind. I can't just immediately spam Outrage.
Yep. Mudsdale might be decent for it. Vikavolt, I think pretty decent. It's got good coverage. Speed's obviously its letdown.
Although there is Trick Room on the Dusclops.
Yeah.
So that could be a thing. There may be like a Trick Room sweep option with Vikavolt. Not sure. I feel like Vikavolt can be a little bit awkward. I mean, it is obviously decent against the Corviknight, but it has to dodge the flying moves. But Sandaconda is the big nightmare for it because it does get rock coverage.
Yeah.
So that can be an issue. I do think there's a lot of power on both sides. I feel like if the Slurpuff could be annoying, but doesn't really do that much to Toxapex. Then I think there's big threats on both sides. Like Boltund always puts in a lot of work. Boltund is a very scary mon in general. Haxorus, of course, probably been Burger's MVP this season. Definitely a monster. And that's Sandaconda and Corviknight if they're both allowed to set up, especially on Toxapex, which is a passive Pokemon. There is always that possibility to set it up. Does need to dodge the Scald Burns, of course. I think, honestly, like, if I'm looking at this, I feel like the Terrakion is a nightmare, but I don't see the perfect way for it to break Sandaconda without Sandaconda breaking it. I think both Sandaconda and Corviknight can probably set up on it. Especially if it's not banded. There is a danger that it might need to be Scarfed. Terrakion isn't the fastest of the Swords of Justice. I believe Cobalion is. So, with that being in mind, like Haxorus may be Scarfed to outspeed it. It does get Earthquake.
They're all 108. They're all equal.
Are they all 108? I thought one was slower than the others. But yeah, like, it's very interesting to me to see where the differences come in. I think Mudsdale is annoying for Burger. Stamina is a problem. Especially where there's a lot of good physical offense on Burger's team. Mudsdale kind of shuts it down a lot. Doesn't do the best damage in the world to Corviknight, however. With that Steel typing kind of mitigating quite a lot of the rock moves.
Yeah, Haze is also an option with Toxapex. Slurpuff does get T-Bolt, so if we see a special kind of...
like a Carmine set.
Yeah.
Could definitely see that. Ooh, I don't know where to put this, actually. I'm not as convinced. I do think Shadow's got a lot of things that can pester Burger, and I think that's gonna be the deciding factor, is like how much will Burger kind of not be able to do the damage that he wants to. I do think Burger's played well this season, but I feel like Shadow might be more than a match. Like, I remember saying this as well. I don't know if you've seen Power Rankings already, Transel, but I said this in Power Rankings as well. Stylistically, these two match up very well against each other. They both have very similar playstyles, and it kind of makes it very awkward to figure out, like, who gets ahead here. I am going to go with Shadow, though, but I don't think it's going to be a big one at all. I am actually going to give it a 1-0 in Shadow's favor.
Yeah, I'm gonna back Shadow as well with a 3-0. I think it'll come down to whoever breaks the walls and can like set up late with like Grimmsnarl or Terrakion. They kind of break for each other, so yeah,
definitely a very, very tight one. This one is probably the one I'm looking forward to watching the most of the 4 games. But let's go ahead and then talk about our games, starting of course with mine. And I am having to deal with DJ, which I kind of dodged a bullet because I don't have to deal with you first. But at the same time, this is not exactly much better. It's kind of a lesser of two evils. How do you see this one going?
So, Dara puts in a lot of work. The wheezing will probably have to be its like biggest factor. Maybe he brings Sun, like with Shiftry. Maybe he doesn't.
Well, he's not brought it all season, so it will be nice to see it.
Definitely does a decent number on your team, Shiftry.
Gotta be careful with like Sucker Punch though, because I do have Cobalion, so that's something that could factor into his decision making. I'm not sure, but Sun is very disgusting, especially with Heliolisk. I do expect to see Sun. That is something I've put a fair bit of time already into prepping against. You never know, he might fool me now and not actually pick Sun at all. Like, Torkoal may not even exist. But yeah, like I remember because I was talking to Denistrio about this before. I'm not 100% confident in my matchup. I do think there are some rather sneaky things I can do, but I think the only realistic way I win this match is by doing something that DJ doesn't expect. Which has been very hard to do. The guy's been rock solid all season, so it's going to be very hard for me to out-prep him. So it is something I am quite serious about. That Copper Ajar is a nightmare. Like trying to deal with this thing on any switch-in with all the coverage it's got, especially when it G-maxes. Yeah, it's not going to be easy. I have enough answers for it. I did bring Focus Blast Zeraora last week to knock down Duraludon. I could kind of do the same thing again against the Copper Ajar, but it's so difficult.
I've been running a lot of weakness berries. Fighting seems pretty decent here.
Yeah, his main weaknesses are fighting and ground types, realistically. So that's where we're looking at to punish. I don't know, it's a tight one. Like, honestly, I want to be biased and back myself, but I feel like my matchup isn't strong enough to reliably do that. So I'm actually going to go against the grain here. I'm actually going to back DJ to beat me 2-0.
Oh boy. Okay. I'm going to go DJ 4-0. I'm very confident in him, especially after you've said that.
Yeah, well, you never know. This could be reverse psychology, and I might pull something out of the hat. You never quite know. But yeah, I do think DJ's played better than me this whole season, so I won't be surprised if he does beat me. So, like, I'm not going to be biased and say I'm going to win this, because I feel like that's not a fair assessment. So, yeah. Alright, let's talk about your match then versus EXO. How do you actually feel about your matchup? Because I'm really curious about this one, because I'm not sure.
I hate his speed tiers. They kind of, like, mess with mine. That was the biggest thing I've seen so far. Overall, I think my top tier threats definitely have, like, all good reasons to come. And then, yeah, from there, not too sure yet.
I feel like there's never a reason not to bring Hatterene, Aegislash, and Cinderace to any single game you've played this season. I feel like those three as a trio have just been so dominant for your team in general, providing you play Aegislash correctly and not poorly. But I feel like there's quite a few little annoyances. I think Runerigus actually kind of makes Trick Room a little bit hard for you. Runerigus excels in Trick Room. Does need to watch out for Vaporeon, but and the Piloswine with the Ice Shard, but Runerigus is amazing bulky-wise, so it can be annoyance. I don't see a need for Rabombi's webs at all. I feel like his speed tiers actually are slightly better than yours, so I would not feel the need for webs unless he's thinking that Trick Room isn't going to be a thing, in which case webs is actually really good for him.
Also awkward for him to put it up with just how my team is with Hatterene and Cinderace with Court Change and Defogmons, and
Yeah, that's definitely true.
it's just something I haven't had to worry about too much this season.
Yeah, something that might be of an interesting one is the Banded Mold Breaker sock that he's brought a couple of times. It's definitely been a nasty piece of work. That thing has definitely done a lot for EXO this season. And I mean, this has a deterrence on both sides, really, when you think about it. Like with Cinderace with the Court Change, Noivern getting Defog as well as the Rotom. But there's also Magic Bounce in the form of that Xatu. So it kind of discourages you from bringing rocks, especially if you see the Xatu. Xatu itself, probably not the best matchup in the world. Piloswine can put in work against it, and like a Scarf Rotom kind of annoys Xatu a little bit. So there can be awkward moments for that thing, but he has used Xatu relatively well. I've seen him use it once or twice, and it's definitely an annoying mon to prep for. I also have quite a lot of love for Salazzle in this match. I think Salazzle, with its speed tier, is actually very, very decent against your team. It does have reliable damage against quite a lot of this team, actually, even with just its stabs. So that could play a factor, and we know EXO's amazing with his low tier mons, so I'm sure he's probably recognized that. I feel like Serena's got a bit of an awkward matchup. It does well against Vaporeon, but it kind of doesn't really do that well against anything else, which could be a bit of a bind. I mean, I guess it could be okay against Piloswine, but I'm not really sure Serena can really afford to come, which does mean that he doesn't have the best removal options. His best removal options kind of go from Xatu, Mantine, and Ribombee, all of which are defoggers. I feel like I'd prefer your top end to his, although he has played Dracozolt relatively well. So it's awkward. I feel like if EXO continues to play as well as he has played, I do think he's a good match for you. I do think he's going to be hard. But the awkward speed tiers almost make me want to back him. And it means that if I somehow manage to beat DJ, I think I'd rather play EXO than you. Nah, like, all jokes aside, I am going to back you, I think. But I don't think it's going to be too easy, but I think it's going to be a little bit easier than DJ beats me. I'm going to give you a 3-0.
Alright. Yeah, I'm going 3-0 my way as well. Snorlax is very annoying. Puts me in kind of an awkward place with Cinderace because of Runerigus if I want high jump kick or low kick, just because it can G-Max and low kick doesn't do anything. Yeah, and then you can just have Thick Fat for Pyro Ball. Yeah. I don't know.
Either way, though, it's going to be an exciting match, as all 4 of our matches are going to be here, of course. So that's going to wrap up our pick'ems, of course. Hopefully these games are going to be good. Who knows, there may be some upsets. We've actually predicted the exact same winners in all 4 games, so that's going to be an interesting factor. That's mostly because I wasn't biased and didn't pick myself, but either way, of course, good luck to everyone playing in playoffs, especially the 2 of us. Just kidding. Right. But yeah, either way, thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Ribombee Teacher. That's Transel.
Yep, I'm getting on out of here.
Yep, and make sure, guys, to stay safe, stay awesome, and we'll see you guys next time. Take care.